Happy Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend. Yesterday was Patriots Day, so there was no school. Today is April 21st, 2020, and we are going to continue reading in our book, Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and we are on chapter 14. When we left last time, it was kind of like a cliffhanger. He pulled at the door to go into the sports family's house, and it was locked. So let's see what happens from here on. Let's see if some of our predictions and what we thought would have happened rang true. All right, chapter 14. In all his plotting, Luke had never thought of the screen door being locked, though he knew his own parents locked up at night, when they didn't forget. The doors at his house had always been open for him, and he'd never been near anyone else's door. Idiot, he muttered to himself. He tugged harder on the door, but he couldn't concentrate enough to make his hands work together. Each second that passed made the hair on the back of his neck stand up more. He had never been so exposed in his entire life. Hurry, 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 get out of here. The door didn't budge. He'd have to turn around, now. That wasn't what his brain said. What his hand did was plunge through the screen. He pulled the wire away from the frame and reached through. The screen scraped the back of his hand and arm, but he didn't stop. He filled with a lock inside until he heard it click. He silently slid the door back and stepped past the hanging blinds into the sports family's house. Even with the blinds blocking every window, the room he entered was airy and bright. From the freshly painted walls to the sparkling glass tables to the polished wood floor, everything looked new. Luke stared. Almost all the furniture in his house had been around as long as he could remember, and whatever patterns and design it originally carried had long ago been worn away. At his house, even the once orangish couch and the once greenish chairs were all now matching sort of brownish gray. This room was different. It reminded him of a word that he had never heard, only read. Pristine. Nobody had ever stepped on these white rugs with manure-covered boots. Nobody had ever sat on those pale blue couches with corn dust-covered jeans. Luke might have stood by the door forever in awe, but someone coughed in the other room. Then he heard a strange beep, beep, beep. He tiptoed forward, better to discover than to be discovered. He went down the long hallway. The beeps had turned into a drawn-out bzzz coming from a room at the end. Holding his breath, Luke stopped inside the door to see the room that gathered the nerve to peek in. His heart pounded. There was still time to escape unseen and go back to his house in the attic, normal, safe. But he'd always wonder. Luke leaned forward, slowly moving a fraction of an inch at a time, until he could just barely see around the door. Inside the room was a chair and a desk and a big apparatus that Luke vaguely recognized as a computer. At the computer, typing away furiously, sat a girl. Luke blinked, thrown off. Somehow he'd never thought about the sports family's third child being a girl. She was mostly facing away from Luke, and she wore jeans and a gray sweatshirt, not much different from the sports family brothers. Her dark hair was almost as short as Luke's, but there was something about the curve of her cheek and the tilt of her head, the way her sweatshirt clung or didn't cling to her body, that made Luke certain she wasn't like him. He blushed, then gulped. The girl turned her head. Luke croaked. Before he had a chance to think of another word, the girl crossed the room and had knocked him down. Then she pinned him to the floor. His arms twisted behind his back, his face buried in the carpet. Luke struggled to turn his head to breathe. So, the girl hissed in his ear, you think you can sneak up on a poor, innocent, unsuspecting girl who's home all alone? Guess nobody told you about our alarm system. I'll call one out to the security guards the minute you stepped on our property. They'll be here any second. Luke panicked. So this is how he'd die. He had to explain. He had to escape. No, he said. They can't come. Oh, yeah, the girl said. Who are you to stop them? Luke raised his head as much as he could. He said the first words that came into his mind. Population police. The girl let go. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 14. So it was a girl. It's the sports family's third child is a girl. I was not thinking it was going to be a girl at all. So that is a plot twist for me. I don't know if you guys had a different prediction, but I assumed it was going to be a boy. So my question for today is, I want you to do a little bit of a compare. How does Luke compare the sports family's house to his own? How are they so different? We see a lot of the differences when he walks into the house, right? He makes a lot of observations about what he's seeing and how they're different from his house. So in the comments below, I want you to, first of all, I want you to tell me, were you expecting a girl? Were you expecting the sports family's third child to be female? And also do a little bit of a compare and contrast and tell me how does Luke compare the sports family's house to his own? Okay, I hope you're enjoying the book, and I know I am. It's very, very suspenseful, so I really like that. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Have a happy Tuesday.